the street and the concrete is her bed. But she doesn't kick up a fuss because of it. No, she doesn't kick up a fuss because of it. Suffering at the hands of the city. Suffering at the hands of the city. As she's pissing in the sheets, as she's pissing in the streets. As she's pissing in the sheets, as she's pissing in the sheets, as she's pissing in the sheets, as she's pissing. And it rotates and rotates and rotates the days. Suffering at the hands of the city. Suffering at the hands of this city. Yeah, that's on the guts. That's why the streets are running red. Pissing in the streets, pissing in the sheets. Pissing in the sheets, pissing in the streets. Pissing in the sheets, pissing in the streets. Pissing in the streets, pissing in the streets. That's it, pissing. Shot, a smoke, a line, a bump, shot, a smoke, a line, a bump, a 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 shot, a smoke, a choke, 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 a choke.
You have been watching and listening to Bullet Girl, and I'm very happy to have Aaron and Dylan. How's it going, guys?
Hi, Andy.
Hello, Andy.
How's lockdown for you guys?
Lockdown's been okay. I mean, I suppose as a musician, lockdown's been fairly tough. It's been difficult to not being able to play in front of a live audience.
Yeah.
But I suppose the good thing is that we've been able to kind of sit down and write a bit more, and kind of put together plans for when things eventually go back to normal.
Right.
So that's been.
But you did
good.
a gig. You did do a gig in December?
Yes, we did a gig in Mike the Pies.
Right, brilliant venue.
Yeah, incredible. And yeah, that was actually great. It was kind of the second last week of December. You know, the year had been an absolute nightmare.
Right. Yeah.
And we weren't sure where this gig was going to go ahead. It was kind of up in the air. And then we got the green light and we're like, right, let's go and do this. And it was amazing.
Great.
Amazing experience. Yeah.
It's really good.
We really enjoyed it. Genuinely really enjoyed it. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, Mike the Pies, it's genuinely like a little family there.
Right.
And that was just fantastic to walk in there and feel that kind of.
They put up some footage of Fontaine's DC playing there before they broke, and what a band!
Yeah, I think it was actually exactly a year before we played.
Really?
Yeah. So there was a bit of a buzz around the year anniversary.
Yeah, you're not that far. I mean, you don't sound like each other, but it's all part of it's post punk, or I think you called it noise punk on your Facebook page.
We were trying to be different, I guess.
You were very different on your press pic with your pink hair.
Yeah.
But where's it gone? I miss it.
I shaved it off and then I grew it back and then I shaved it off. It's candy floss hair. I was like,
There's nothing wrong with candy floss
No,
hair.
we're going to get it back. Yeah.
Yeah.
eventually, you know.
Can we start a thing then on Facebook, a petition to get Aaron's hair, his
I
pink
think
hair
that's
back? Bring back the pink
I
hair.
tell you what, if you come up with a good name for that Facebook page, then I might actually do it.
Aaron, Concrete Bed.
Yes.
What is that about?
Concrete Bed is about drug culture, homelessness and modern despair. And it was pretty much about going into Dublin City and just witnessing all these, I guess, different scenes, and I guess becoming upset or angry at what was going on in Dublin City. And I decided to, Dylan had to come up with a riff, one practice, and the lyrics that I was thinking of just happened.
They just kind of came out, didn't they?
just
And it was
came
kind of
out.
like, it's that song we kind of, we consider it kind of like almost like a cycle, like, you know,
Right,
it's just
yeah.
kind of circular
Is-
riff
is-
that goes over and over again.
Is that how you guys write? You might bring down a riff and then lyrics, everybody contributes, or
Yeah,
do they
I
ever
mean,
come
yeah.
down as full songs?
They very, very rarely they'll come down as full songs. Like it'll either be I might have a riff that we're coming up with and we're kind of working out in the studio, or it's a case of me and Aaron are kind of working through something maybe on our own. Like me and Aaron lived very close to each other. Like, you know, for years we grew up together, and now we're actually living together. So we're kind of writing songs together as well a bit. So that's kind of the process now. But then it comes into the studio or the practice space and it changes again. We're always open to different ideas, and the song can start off as a slow ballad and turn into a mad punk song. You know, we're not precious about the ideas. Like we just like to kind of work through them and really what's best for the song. And I think a lot of the times the song, it kind of dictates to you like what it should be. It kind of tells you, like, the song is telling you we need to go here or we need to go there. Like, and you're kind of, everyone's kind of just in this disagreement.
And
You know?
do you write all the lyrics?
I did before, but we're trying to now team up on the lyrics ourselves now. Concrete Bed, I wrote the lyrics.
But now everyone's having a
I like
contribution.
to pitch in, being honest,
great.
because I don't. I guess we like to go through the lyrics. We've started this tradition now where we're actually going through the lyrics line by line. Right, well, what are you trying to say here? What's the meaning behind this? Or you know, what's this song about? What's the idea? Is it a story? So that's something we're trying to get more into now. And obviously that was a bit hard for me to get into at the start because I was just so used to writing by myself. But I'm actually really enjoying this new
Yeah, and I
process.
think it's one of them things. It's like, well, if you write the music together and you're not, I think the lyrics should be a kind of thing where we're all in agreement about the lyrics, you know, because it's we're all putting our name to the band and we all like to kind of get involved with all aspects of the band, you know.
And would that be the same then for your guitar playing or for the bass playing? Would everybody have an input? And
Yeah, like I for example, like I can't play drums really. I can't barely play guitar, for God's sake. But like, but you know, I'll often have like,
you're a great guitar player. I love your playing. I love your discordant, feedbacky noise with far too much reverb.
yeah, far
What's
too
not
much
to love?
reverb. But I you know, like, and it's the same with all of us. We kind of we might have an idea for a drum bit in our head, or the bass should go here, or maybe, you know. And again, someone will say to me, maybe they get too much reverb. No, but you know, and again, it's just about not being very precious about
To
yourself
combine.
and you're part of the band, because it's not about you. It's about the music. It's about the song.
It's about the group, it's about the song, really, about the music.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay. More music. Second of 3 from Bullet Girl. This is Panic.
Living up the size of park. One side we have them rich folk, and the other we have the homeless, ex-military suffering PTSD, and police officers that wave their guns so low. Hello, plastic cardboard roofs, reuse office chairs. I love them shades on you, lady. Oh, and unease. You're just sensitive people, after all. We're just sensitive people. We're just sensitive people, after all. This panic never ends. Let's panic. Let's panic. This panic never ends. Let's panic. So he's saying, live life like there's no tomorrow. He say you'd be lucky if you live to tomorrow, pal. Killer bees, without ease. So we're all just sensitive people, after all. We're just sensitive people, yeah. We're just sensitive people, after all. Let's panic, never ends. Let's panic, let's panic. Let's panic, never ends. Let's panic, let's panic. Never, ever, 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 ever ends. Never, ever, ever, ever ends. Let's panic, never ends. Let's panic, let's panic. I'll just set the people after all. We just set the people after all. We'll just set the people after all. I can't even look at you in the mirror anymore. You're such a disease, Kevin. You're such a disease, Kevin. You're such a disease, Kevin. You're such a disease. Panic, 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 panic.
Okay, that was Panic by Bullet Girl. So happy were you with the live recording? I see that it's appeared on Spotify.
It has indeed. We were most impressed
Right. Well,
by that.
Yeah, we actually really love
Yanko
the live sound.
Ganov, our house engineer, award-winning sound engineer and producer, mixed that for you. But of course, he couldn't have done it without you.
You're welcome.
I think as well the nature of that song in particular is very. It just lends itself to that kind of live performance aspect, you know.
Yeah.
And we actually genuinely really loved that take of it and that mix. So we were like, we're happy with this. Let's put it out like as a kind of final single of the year. Yeah. So that was kind
Brilliant. Yeah. What is it about?
Panic 2020, it was actually funny. That story behind that was the lyrics behind it is I went on a trip to New York with my girlfriend for the first time in September 2019. And obviously, the first time you're in New York, you know, it's like a movie moment. But then I guess you begin to kind of see how similar it is to like obviously issues that are happening at home, you know, and even probably even darker than at home. But it's the whole idea of Panic 2020 was the grass isn't always greener on the other side.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's funny, like we that song was kind of written at the end of 2019, looking into 2020, and you know, thinking it might have been a bit of a strange year, but I don't think we got that right at all. We missed the whole pandemic aspect of it, I think.
I predicted the future.
I've just noticed your fingernails. Did you catch them all on the door?
I did actually. Dylan didn't like the way I was writing newer songs, so he punished me. I still can't play.
You got it wrong 10 times, did you?
10 times, yeah. And one for good luck and one for bad luck too.
The fingernails, and bring back the pink hair.
I'll try.
So when we recorded those songs, and actually you were supposed to be episode 1. It's a long time ago since we recorded you playing.
I have hair now.
And we were just talking earlier on. You were saying you'd like to do more of that style of recording. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I suppose we again, like we're saying, really enjoyed that kind of live aspect of it. I think it was just the chemistry in the room and the energy. And I actually remember that day that we filmed that. It was really hot. Like it was one of the hottest days of summer. Like, and I think that added to the whole energy of the song. Like,
it's kind of like claustrophobic, wasn't it?
Yeah.
A bit, wasn't it?
Yeah,
For the
really.
deepest winter now, you'll have to turn all the heaters up.
Yeah, that's it.
Sweat everybody
Try
out.
and capture
It's
that.
the same,
Yeah.
the same vibe.
Yeah, but we think going forward, we're going to try do that a little bit more, like capture a take in the room, you know, where we can all look at each other, see what we're doing, and there's them moments of spontaneity that kind of come up when you're in a room with people and you're playing these songs, and so I think that's what we're going to go forward.
There's a lot to be said for both ways. I mean, if you layer, Brian Eno famously said you need to use the studio as an instrument, and if you're layering stuff, then you go, oh, that doesn't sound, it might sound great in the room with the band, but when you go to put it down, it's not coming across, and so you might try a different way, which obviously you can't do if you're doing it live. So different. Yeah,
I think a mix and match, really. You know, like get the live take and see how that sounds, and then if we need to pull out a guitar or maybe redo the drums or the vocals and stuff like that, then we you know, have that option to do that. Like we kind of like to experiment in the studio as well. You know, like I've often myself come up with guitar ideas for in the actual studio while I'm recording it, like that I hadn't played before, like, and then that ends up being just the way it's the way the song is, and you know, I think for yourself as well.
Yeah, it's the same. It's even like I think you find things, you know, when you're in that studio space, you find things that you didn't expect, like the way I'd probably do a vocal line, like compared to Concrete Bed, even like the actual recording of that is totally different to the live version that we done in your studio, which I probably do prefer my actual vocals in your studio.
Right, because you were doing it live.
Yeah.
Had that energy. The different things that kind of come up on when you have them two different approaches, like, it's interesting. It's
Great. Okay. All right. A section on every episode called Tips and Tricks has an industry professional offer advice to new talent, and there's something very special in this episode. We have world-renowned record producer Danny Saber. Danny Saber, welcome to Sessions from Oblivion.
Hi, Andrew.
Thank you for taking the Zoom call. I really do appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me, man.
I was looking down through your CV, and it's basically too long to read out, so it might be better. I'm just going to play this little video. Okay, that's some video, and I'm just going to mention two bands. Solo artists in the band. I'm going to say the Rolling Stones and David Bowie.
I know, right? It's almost like I don't even believe it, you know.
Fair enough.
And economically, the music business has been through a pretty big, traumatic sort of change over the last 20 years. So for those of us who were actually around when there was a music business, it's been very, you know, it is what it is, you know.
Yeah. So this section is called Tips and Tricks, and we would love to know what's your advice for, you know, new rock bands or solo artists, singer-songwriters. What words of wisdom have you got for them?
Well, if we're talking about bands and solo artists are sort of, there's some things you gotta like sort of there's some differences, but ultimately I think the things that are consistent is when you're a young musician, one thing I tend to find is we're talking about working in the studio creatively. They tend to, I was like this too. You get an idea and you're just like, I got this idea. And they think in absolutely, you know, the best advice I was ever given by a legendary man who was sort of a mentor to me, a guy named Jim Brown. You know, he always used to say, don't think in absolutes. You know, and that's the thing, like, because the most amazing things that happen in music generally are the things that you weren't planning, the mistakes, the accidents. Yeah. And I think the key is to be able to recognize those things and then refine them. And a lot of times that stuff will go right over someone's head if they're just sitting there, doing 80 takes in a row and just, so it's like almost like music's like an energy. You've got to harness.
This is why you need to listen to the producer, because he's singing the full thing.
The producers aren't always right either, though. I think it's important that you learn to listen to yourself and trust your instincts, but within that, you allow the people around you to do what they do, and that's what made David Bowie so great. I mean, he surrounded himself with the most unbelievable musicians of the last 50 years, but he also created an environment where they could flourish and bring their shit to the table with no, barriers. And that's, so because that can happen too. You get these amazing, it happens to me. People want to work with me and they get me, and then every now and then it's like, they almost don't allow it to happen because it's like, oh yeah, he's cool, he's good, but I have to show, and it all turns into this bullshit ego thing where it's like, so don't think in absolutes if you can.
Right, brilliant.
Listen to music, and try to be an individual. Try to find your own voice in it, and
all right, so I'd have to say when you start playing music, you emulate the people that you're a fan of. I wanted to be in the Clash with Pistols, and that you're bound to do that before you find your own. Well, you live a little bit. I was a big Talking Heads fan, so there's a bit of rhythm going on, and obviously being a Clash fan, that'd have to be power chords. So you mix that all up. You start off that way. What did you start off as?
Well, that's funny you should say that, because I talk about this all the time, and it's interesting. I couldn't agree with you more. Like when you're a kid, for instance, all the kids on my block, and what got me started was I had a lot of friends that were like, when I was 12, they were 16. And the kid down the street had a guitar, this guy Carl, and he played trumpet in the high school band, and like he was like he could play an instrument. I remember trying to figure out if I had any aptitude for music at all. And he would play a note on the piano and say, sing the note. And I couldn't sing the note. He's like, come on, dude, D, C. I mean, I had no inkling of any sort of natural talent. But all I knew was I wanted to play guitar so fucking bad. I used to go and sit in his room. I used to drive him crazy because I would just sit in his room playing his guitar. And then I finally got a guitar at 13. And I remember I went to my first guitar lesson. I think I brought in a tape of Purple Haze, and they give you the Mel Bay book of learning how to read a note and play Green Sleeves or whatever the fuck it is. And I walk in with it and I'm like, I want to learn the solo to Purple Haze, right?
Yeah.
The guitar teacher starts showing me okay, well, here's the riff. No, I don't want to learn the riff. I want to learn the solo. And he's just like, you know what, kid, you might want to think about something else besides playing guitar, right?
So, Danny, anything else to offer new bands?
Yeah, I mean, I know it's all pretty esoteric what I'm talking about, but I mean, there's a million people out there that are going to tell you the obvious stuff, but I think ultimately in a band situation, what it really comes down to is, look, there's nothing more powerful to me that I've seen in my life than when a band is like clicking on all cylinders and all the people in that equation add up to whatever they add up to. But for that to happen, there's like one part sort of finding the right people, which you don't always have complete control over. And then like everyone allowing it to happen and everyone filling a role that just sort of organically falls into place. So I think it's, surround people with people you like, you know what I mean? And try to find people that really, because especially in this day and age, I mean, the rewards system is sort of different than it used to be, especially if you're a rock band. I think it's one of the good things about rock music, let's say, is I would imagine most of the people that are kids that are doing it because they're driven to do it. They have to do it. They want to do it. They love it, because the superficial rewards just aren't there like they used to be, unless something really.
What if the guys you like just don't play very well? And the guys you don't like are brilliant musicians?
Well, it depends what you're trying to do, because that's like sort of what does that even mean? I mean, I'll take a guy or a girl who's driven and can write and create over a technically amazing player any day of the week. History has shown us, the people that are remembered weren't necessarily. I mean, every now and then you get a Jimi Hendrix, you get a Prince, you know, you get a Stevie Wonder. Those are once in a generation musicians. The people that, the bulk of the people that have left something behind. I was watching some footage of The Clash last night, and I mean, I've been in the room with Joe. I played with. I never realized what a great rhythm guitar player he was, man. Like when he really dug in and wanted to play.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I jam with him too as it happens.
But he was a vibey guy. He wasn't a technically amazing player. Oh my God, it's the other guy in The Clash, the other guitar.
Mick Jones.
Mick Jones. Mick Jones was he was a good musician.
Yeah,
you know, he was. But Joe had the fucking vibe and the flavor and the you know, that energy that he brought to it, and it transcended technique. His technique didn't matter.
Yeah.
That's what's so great, you know. And that's not limited to punk rock. I mean, that could be in, you know, but it's when the guys have both.
Yes,
you know?
yeah, that's what you gotta look for. It's a very difficult thing, really, when you think about it. You're gonna find 4 people. You can see it in U2. You can see where there's a bond. And they're very lucky, and you can see it in the Beatles.
I'll tell you a good U2 story. So it's not really a tip and a trick, but it's a good story. It'll reinforce exactly what you're saying. So they invited me to come up and meet them on the Pop Mart tour. So I flew to Vancouver. I get to the hotel, go straight to the gig. They're playing in some dome arena place. Now, I had just been spending a lot of time with the Rolling Stones on the road. I got to go out. And, you know, with the Rolling Stones, it was like I got to go opening night in Chicago. So I get to the U2 thing and I'm like, cool, you know, meet Paul McGuinness. Hi, Danny, the boys are prepping. They'll see you after the gig, you know, there's a pass. The band, myself, T-Bone Burnett after the gig. And they were going over the show. They were just saying, you know, what went well, what didn't go well, da 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 da. And at one point, they asked me, so, hey, man, you know, the Stones, like, what was that like? You know, I go, I'll tell you one thing, this would never fucking happen. And they're like, well, what do you mean? And I go, the 4 of them sitting in a room after a show together, like they had 2 floors. So it shows how committed and you know, how, you know, they really, you know, and that was the thing about getting to spend time with them. They're just so down to earth, you know, but I think they have an appreciation for what they've done. Sometimes Bono gets a bad rap, but you know, it's really unfair, man, because the guy really, it's sincere. Everything that's coming out of them, at least, I don't know, I haven't seen them in a while, but
they were very good to me when I was a kid. They helped my band out and stuff, and particularly Larry. But Bono gave me a lift into school one day. But it's been so long since I've seen him. Like, he wouldn't know me from Adam.
Yeah, probably too.
Great joke.
But it's not like I'm going to get on an Irish show and start knocking U2. Hey, that's the way to win over the people. No, but I could, if I wanted to, I could.
Oh, the Irish are great at knocking U2. And anything that's successful, it's part of
that's true.
Danny, listen, thank you so much for taking the time. And I hope...
my pleasure, man.
I hope you'll, you know, we talked about you maybe having a bit of an input into the program, so I hope we can investigate that further, and love to talk to you again.
No, absolutely, man. My pleasure. I look forward to it.
Okay. Thank you very much, dude.
Thanks, man.
Thank you very much, Danny Saber. Danny was saying there when he was working with U2 that, you know, it was very obvious the commitment they had to each other, whereas the Rolling Stones didn't. I've been at rehearsal with you guys. Thanks for inviting me down. I seem to remember I brought all the beers, so we can remedy that for the next time. But it's quite obvious. It's quite obvious that you're all very close as friends and stuff. Is that important?
Extremely. I think it's really important. I think when you're making music together, we'd be friends regardless of being in a band, but I think there's a certain relationship that comes with being a band. Automatically you just become very close to the people you're in a band with, you know.
Is there ever, you know, big arguments? Go, Aaron, what are you singing?
Absolutely.
Actually, I knew a guy, he was in a sort of a punky band, and the guitar player was a real angry young man, and he had the lyric, and the lyric was, I got a message from God, God is dead. And the guitar player went, can't have that. this sort of punky dude. Yeah. I thought that was hilarious. You know, does it ever happen where you say, Aaron, what are you singing about? Has that happened?
All the time. All the time.
No, to be honest with you, like conflict is good. Like I think in a band,
conflict is good.
It is. I think it is.
Conflict
good,
is sexy.
It is, yeah.
Conflict is the new peace and love.
No, it is. I think conflict. Yeah, absolutely, it is. I mean, like, geez, we were down in our kitchen there the other day, and I was going over lyrics with Dylan, and he just, you know, he just criticised me and bet me down, and I went up and had a little cry, and then I came back down.
But you're over
we'll
it
go
now.
this way.
Like an
Then.
awful guy here.
The most awful person I know.
No, to be honest, I've never been in any other band, like, really, like.
Really?
Yeah, I haven't been in any other band, so I don't know
Have
what
it any
the
other way.
dynamic is like. But for me, it's like, you know, we can be as honest as we want with each other. I don't know if it's like that in other bands.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, because I just genuinely haven't been in another band. So I think maybe that does add to it, you know, having that relationship where I can just be like, or you can just be like to me, no, that doesn't work, or, you know what, we're not doing that.
That's
You won't be
exactly.
offended.
See, it's like
You won't be offended, yeah.
we are like a little family ourselves. Like we're like four brothers, like, and that's the way we've always wanted it to be. And we can be. It's great that we have that. I feel like certain bands. Well, I don't even know certain bands, but that we have that beautiful relationship that we can actually turn around and go, well, do you know what? That was shit.
Yeah.
Or that's not going to work. You know, which I think is. Important.
No, obviously we're not. We're a bit nicer.
No,
Sometimes.
we're much nicer. We have to be nicer, and then after you give it about maybe a few hours or a day, or maybe a week, and then you go, "Do you know what? To be honest, that was absolutely shit. Don't ever write that again, ever."
No, but there's a great vibe in rehearsal, and there's banter between you all, and you all share the same goal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
which of
exactly.
course is
Yeah,
important.
yeah. Like we're all working towards the same
Yeah.
end points, you know.
Aaron said to me that day I was there, you're just putting your effects together, and you said, I'm in the room I'm happiest to be in.
Yeah.
I don't think it was because it was my studio, but because you were there with your friends playing music.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And you know, you're a nice bloke. And you're actually, you know,
I could tell you a few stories there, Andy.
I'm wearing a
But
mask.
it's not that you're, you know, shy and retiring or anything, but you know, you're sort of chilled out guy. But your songs are, you know, Concrete Bed, Panic, Parasite. You know, there's an angry man in there somewhere.
Yeah, there's definitely there's a mask, definitely.
You get to
an alter ego. That's what
Right.
everyone says. I mean, like, even in work, I will come across as I am now, and then they
Right.
see me on stage, and I'm there throwing my guitar across the room or other things that I
It's
won't
great. Like, to be
mention.
honest, like, as much as well as I know Aaron, even when I'm on stage, he's a completely different person, and he's completely unpredictable as well.
Yeah.
You know, like, I actually don't know what he's going to do, to the point where sometimes I'm a bit worried.
Schizophrenic, I think, is what-
dangerous.
Yeah,
It's great though. It's like a different character.
yeah. You need to have
You
a bit
know?
of danger in
Yeah.
rock and roll.
That's it. I feel like it's like you're an actor on stage, and that's where you're meant to be. You know. Yeah.
So we finally got to interview you. We had
Finally.
a few dry runs at this, and things fell apart. Microphones didn't work today. That's why we're on the handhelds, but we got there in the end. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks
We're
so
gonna
much,
Thank you very
play out
much,
with
Andy.
the final song, but before that, thank you very much to Dunboyne Castle for lending us their facility. This is the third of three from Bullet Girl, Parasite.